Hello, in this video we're just going to have a look at a old showreel that I put together for when I was trying to get into the visual effects industry as a hard surface modeler. I put this showreel together with a few different pieces of work that I made when I was at university and kind of the period of time between leaving university, that like sort of month or so, and getting my first job. This is kind of really just coming from the perspective of a 3D artist, a 3D modeler in particular, trying to get into the visual effects industry for film and TV. Just purely just because that's my experience. You know, there's lots of different types of 3D. You can do it for games. You can do it for architectural visualization, product visualization, or visual effects as well. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this case. And if you're looking to get into the VFX industry as a hard surface modeler specifically, and make some cool robots and vehicles and all sorts of other good stuff, then this video will hopefully give you a bit of an insight into the kind of showreel that's required just to get your foot in the door. Please do bear in mind, I made this showreel when I just graduated uni in 2018. I did a degree in visual effects. You don't have to do a degree, by the way. You can be self-taught. Doing a degree can help you get into some graduate programs like it did for me, but it's certainly not the only way to get in. You can absolutely get in as a junior. I'd also like to note that I'm no longer in the VFX industry. I do my own thing. I co-run my own business, doing like 3D product visualization. That's what this channel is for. This is for our studio. But we also like to give out tips for people looking to get into VFX and modeling and 3D in general, just because that's some of the background that we have. So anyway, I'll get right to it. So yeah, I made this reel in 2018, and there's a lot that goes into a show reel. I'll just let it play for a bit. This is a project I made for, this is my final year project at university. Basically, we did 3 years. At the end of our third year, we had a couple months to make one big final project just to sort of showcase everything we'd learned. I decided to make this kind of mechanics workshop looking thing with this jet engine. This took ages to make, and like all these like different bits of machinery, and I went and like modeled and textured all of this stuff. This is kind of a car that I made. This was inspired by Blade Runner. I think the Blade Runner 2049 movie, sorry, had come out recently. And I really like some of the designs from that kind of thing. That like whole cyberpunk, like very hard tech look. And originally this wasn't supposed to be that. I ended up just making this old school concept car. I forget exactly what car this is. Maybe like the keen-eyed like car enthusiast among you will know what this car is. I can't remember what it's called. But then I ended up like sprucing it up and making it some sort of like cyberpunk sci-fi hover car. And I had quite a lot of fun making this. The topology is a bit iffy. I wouldn't. I'll get into talking about why this like is maybe a bit too dense in some places. But this took quite a while to make, and it was a challenging project. It was the first car I ever made, so I decided to put it in my reel. This is a model for a character that I made for a group project in our third year. And then we ended up using him in this like 3D animated short. And then this is an environment I made as well for this. I've kind of put my showreel in order of, I think, best to worst, which is sort of what you want to do. And you don't want to put any work in your showreel that is bad, I would say. Only put your best things in there. But definitely I would arrange them in what you think is the best order, or at least ask someone, or you can also ask someone, sorry, if you can, like a mentor or someone that works in VFX to give you some advice on what they think your best pieces are. This is just the order I did it in. This is a personal piece I made between... I finished my final year project quite early, and had a bit of time just to work on my own things before I finished university and graduated. So I'll go right back to the beginning. So, like I was saying, putting your best piece forward, right, when you're doing your showreel, is incredibly important, because this is literally the first thing they're going to see, okay? So yeah, you can have the title card, right? It shows what you're good at. The reason this doesn't have my name is because this is actually, you might be able to see down here, this was the showreel I used to apply for the graduate program at Industrial Light and Magic at the time in 2018, and this is also the showreel that got me that job. And I ended up working there for a couple of years and a few other studios as well after that. But this is what got me in my foot in the door at that studio, my first job out of uni. So this is, like I was saying, my final year project. And the thing they liked about this, I remember the guy that works as the head of the digital model shop department at ILM said that the main thing he liked about this was this engine, right? This centerpiece here that I did a close up of, just because of all the like various different bits of detail, and it's quite a complicated model. So if you're looking to do hard surface, something like this will get you like, if you can do something like this, I think these days the quality of work I'm seeing from students and also people that are just teaching it themselves, young people too, like sometimes just kids, 15, 16-year-olds teaching themselves Blender, far surpass what I can do here. So the quality of work these days is a lot higher. And I would also say that it's quite important these days to, if you're going to be a hard surface modeler, I don't think it's necessarily enough just to have models anymore. I think you also need texture, right? Like I have here. And my texture work here at the time wasn't the best, but I still think it was important to add just to show that you understand the pipeline. I would say and the process, I would say if your texture work at the moment is not good enough, practice it and make it better. If you are applying to jobs now and you feel like your texture work isn't up to scratch, I would say just make sure your models are as high quality as possible. If you have fantastic models, then that should carry you most of the way. But if you can, show that you can texture as well, and that will really, really, really like give you a leg up. But this engine here in particular is what got me my job. I remember the department head saying something about the mix of low detail areas and high detail areas and just how everything kind of connects together. And this was based on a real engine as well. I think a Pratt & Whitney jet engine from the 50s or the 60s. I can't remember exactly. Not exactly one-to-one, but at least like largely inspired by and, mostly matched to with a lot of these details. So this is the kind of work that you at least had to produce back in 2018. And I think these days you should at least be aiming for something like this, this kind of level of quality and detail. This took a couple months to put together. I think I would say don't rush your showreel projects. You'll hopefully have time, especially if you're quite young and looking to getting into the industry, which a lot of people are. And even if you're not, just take your time with it, right? If you're working a full-time job, if you're studying, take your time with these projects. Don't rush them. If you want to take a couple months to make something for your showreel, that's okay. You won't necessarily get that much time when you're in the industry. You might get like 3 weeks, depending on the quality of the asset, a week, 2 weeks. It really, really depends. Like the turnaround can be quite fast, and that sounds scary, but believe me, it's once you get in and you start doing things, you'll speed up really quick. I know I did. But take your time making your products for your showreel, right? And pick something to me, and that's how I've done my showreel here, is I would say do something based on reality first and match that 100%. Okay? Match that to the best of your ability. Just because when you're working in VFX, a lot of the time, obviously, we're trying to match reality, right? We want it to look photorealistic and blend in seamlessly with the plates, the green screen, the actors, and whatever other background footage, right? So do something based on reality, because that's a lot of the job. Also, like I've got here, do something based on a concept, right? The reason you want to do this is because there will be times when you're working in VFX where you might be asked to, make things like spaceships, right? Like working at ILM, Star Wars, you get asked to do these things. And having a good basis to be able to create things from reality is a great way to do that, obviously, because a lot of sci-fi things, believe it or not, do have some grounding in reality. Otherwise, they would just look outlandishly weird. But show that you can create work more, something that's not real, right? Or like work from concepts, because you have to do that too. And it also shows your creative, artistic ability, right? You can show off your technical ability by making something like this engine, right? And matching it to something in real life. But then you also want to make sure you show off your creative ability and your artistic ability by making something like this. And showing that you can also design and sort of like take the initiative to create elements yourself and be creative and be sort of more artistic and free. Oftentimes you'll get given a brief and you'll be like, oh, you have to make this, but you'll still be working to concept art. and it still won't be a real life object, right? So it's important to show that you can do that. In this showreel, I have, how many projects do I have? I think I have 4 in total. No, 5 even, sorry. I think 5 is an okay amount. Honestly, I think if your work is really, really good and you spend a lot of time working on it and making it as perfect as possible, 2, 3, maybe 4 at the very most projects is fine, really. But I think 2 to 3, maybe let's say 3 really, really good projects in order of like quality. Show your best work first. I would say that's enough, right? Like honestly, I would say do maybe 1 piece based on reality, right? Do something complicated, and then maybe 2 conceptual pieces. If you're looking to do hard surface, I see a lot of people these days making showreels with cars, and I think cars they're okay to make, right? Like, but a lot of people will just make like a basic car, right? Like if I just search car, they'll just make something like a sports car or like a family car or BMW or something like this. But there's nothing necessarily wrong with making something like this, and if you execute it really well, because cars like this can be quite hard to make, making all these like different flowing shapes, it can showcase your technical ability, but it's also a little boring. Like, I don't mean to sound mean in any way, but if you imagine the VFX recruiter and the people like scrutinizing your showreel, they're probably seeing like hundreds of these while they're trying to recruit for a role, and they're going to see so many different cars, right? So if you're going to make a real life object, I would pick something a little bit more interesting. Like, what if you made like part of like a NASA rocket, right? Or if you have any science museums near you. I know, like, I'm fortunate enough to live in London and not too far away from the Science Museum in the UK. And there's a bunch of different, like, rocket engines and capsules and other bits in there. You can go and take your own photographs, and then make something from that. And then you can also use those photographs in your showreel to showcase that you can match to something in reality. And that will look so much better, in my opinion, than just doing like a car or a gun or something like that. Just because everyone's doing it, not necessarily because it's a bad model to do, but I wouldn't put it in your showreel unless it's really, really like ridiculously detailed and the textures are perfect. Only in that case would I say do that. And after that, do something like conceptual, like maybe if you're looking to get into hard surface, make a robot, make some kind of mech, right? Something complicated. Like if I just search up like mech. Like, make something from some concept art. Like, if you did something like this and then executed it really, really well, that would look fantastic. So if you had something like this and then also something based on reality that's like got perfect like picture mac details and textures, you're absolutely going to get a job, right? Because that's showcasing that you can do, 1, you can create from reality, and 2, you can work from concept and be creative. And that's pretty much all you need. You could probably get away at that point with just having 2 projects, depending on the quality of your work. So yeah, I mean, I have a car in here, but I've gone and then made the extra effort to make a car that is like a lot less known. Is also a concept car, so we never actually went into production as far as you know. And then I've also customized it on top of that. So if you're going to make a car, just do something like that. But yeah, that would primarily be most of my tips. I would say you can probably see here I'm showing my wireframes. I think this is also good to do, just because, having good topology while you're working with VFX, if you're doing hard surface, it's not always as important. There's a lot of like purists out there that say, oh, you absolutely have to have quads, and it's really not true unless you're making something that's deforming. Like even on this, right, if the topology density, the mesh density was high enough, you could have a bunch of triangles and n-gons in here and it'll subdivide fine. It's good practice to have nothing but quads and like good clean topology, I would like to emphasize, if you're going to show off your topology, which you should in your showreel, definitely don't have any triangles or n-gons. You can break those rules later. Have very, very clean topology and showcase it as well, because the recruiters will like to see that you understand the technical elements of that and how you get around it. And it would just push you a little further in showing what you can do. A lot of people will recommend to do this. Keep your topology quite nice and even as well. Like this is a pretty bad example. I didn't really understand this at the time. I thought it was just okay, but you can see the mesh density here on some things. Like here, it doesn't really match. The quads are a bit more like rectangles, and you've got this, which is really high res for some reason, and then this is so much higher resolution. And then this is really low resolution for some reason. So try and just keep it nice and even. Not too low poly. A lot of people make that mistake when they're making models for VFX. We've touched on that a little bit in some of our other videos, but this is the showreel that got me my first job at ILM. So if you're going to make something, I would say aim for at least this quality. I think these days, most of you guys can probably do a hell of a lot better. You have more access to resources than I did. 3D's way more accessible than it's ever been, especially with Blender becoming just a fantastic piece of software these days. And you can get student licenses as well if you're in university for Maya and things like that, because that is the industry standard. And I would say if you're looking to get into VFX, hard surface modeling, I would say it's okay to have some Blender work in there, but realistically, I would say you should have Maya, and it should all be Maya. Texture work as well. The primary software that's used is Substance Painter, Substance Designer, and Mari. If you're going to do any texturing, I would do it in that. I did this all in 3D Coat, so not the best example. Similar workflows to things like Substance Painter, but it's not the same software. So just make sure, if you're looking to get into VFX, do Maya for your modeling, and then Substance Painter, Designer, or Mari for your texturing. So yeah, this was just a little insight into the kind of showreel I think you need to make to get into VFX from my experience. If you have any questions at all, or if you'd like to even show us your showreel, more than happy to have a look at it and give you some feedback and critique it and sort of help push you along your way to getting that job. I know how hard it is, like especially right now, we had the writers' strikes, then the actors' strike. On top of that, it's really made it difficult for veterans in the VFX industry to find work, let alone people trying to get into it now. But I would say if you really love it and it is your passion, then don't give up on it. Right, we made a video not too long ago that I think really resonated with people, where it was trying to push your limits, and sort of don't procrastinate, work on those harder projects. And I would say if you're going to do that and you're looking to get into VFX, definitely do that for your showreel, right? Don't just like rest on your laurels, like really push yourself and make the absolute best work you can, right? Because if you love this work and this is what you want to do, then you owe it to yourself, okay? Work hard, work really hard, right? Because everyone else will be. That's the hard truth, right? There'll be someone else out there that was willing to work harder, and people don't really like to hear that, but it's the truth. So you need to work as hard as possible to give yourself that edge, right? Because it's hard to get into this industry, and I don't mean to put a downer on it and make it sound like, oh no, you shouldn't do it. No, absolutely, if you love it, go for it, do it. Like, I had a fantastic experience working in it. The only reason I don't now is just to personal circumstances. It's something else. I wanted to pursue something else. So yeah, if you want to get into VFX, absolutely do it. And I hope this video helps you somewhat to understanding what kind of showreel you should make. Any questions at all, please do not hesitate to give us a comment, and we'll respond. We'll respond to every single comment. And again, thank you so much for watching. Hope it helped, and we'll see you next time.